For my project, I chose to do Phone Story. Phone Story is an interactive game created by the company Malindustria. It's available online or can be downloaded as an app with most electronic devices, excluding any Apple products. The purpose of the game is to educate the negative journey our smartphones take before and after they become in our possession. Even though our smartphone devices look glamorous and chic, a great deal of people around the world had to suffer in order to provide us with them. The entire game is narrated by a computer-like character. It is broken up into 4 stories, or sections. The main premise of the game is to make it through all 4 stories that are being told. In order to continue on to the next story, you must meet the goal given of each stage. If you are unable to meet the goal, then the story ends and you must begin all over again. The first part of the game takes place in Congo. The goal is to work enslaved children in order to make enough coltan, a mineral used in electronic devices. The next story takes place in a factory in China. This represents a typical factory where electronic devices are assembled. The work conditions are so severe that there are numerous suicides. Therefore, the mission of this section is to catch as many people as possible that are jumping out of windows attempting to commit suicide. The third story is a store handing out phones to consumers. The final story represents after we get rid of our phones. We think it's being recycled, but in reality it's being shipped to another country to be disposed of. The methods used are both harmful to human health and the environment. The game finally ends with a narrator saying,
and the cycle continues.
Then the game starts all over from the beginning. The game doesn't have high-quality graphics. It resembles an old version of a video game, such as how the games for a Game Boy Advance will look. All the human characters, such as the children or the customers at the store, don't have distinct human facial features. There weren't many bright colors used in the game, and it has a simple color palette consisting of mainly brown, gray, white, and green. The lack of quality of the graphics helped the players pay attention to the story as well as the game itself. With each story, the characters involved all have a similar look. For example, in the second story, the factory workers attempting to commit suicide look completely identical to one another. Even the guards at the bottom trying to catch them look the same. The game is completely controlled by the player. In the first story, you must tap on the children workers to make them work faster to meet your goal. In the second game, you are required to move the suicide net back and forth to catch as many people as possible. In the third, you have to launch and aim cell phones at the customers before they get into the store. In the last story, you must distribute all the phone pieces among the workers evenly. The computer narrator in Phone Story is voiced by Jesse Styles. However, his voice is altered to make him sound more like a computer.
Hello, consumer. Thank you for joining us. Let me tell you the story of this phone while I provide you with quality entertainment.
The music used throughout the entire game is called Dear Joe by Minus Baby. The music went with the graphics perfectly because it also sounds like something you would hear in a Game Boy game. The children in the first story are meant to resemble the actual children of Congo, and they do to a certain extent. In the third section of the game, the store that is giving out the phones has a Pear logo on the front, which looks similar to the Apple Store. Phone Story affected me emotionally mainly because I love my smartphone, but I had no idea that so many people globally had to suffer in order for me to have it. I don't support child slavery at all. I'd rather give up my smartphone if it meant the children of Congo no longer had to be enslaved. I felt this game was very informative. I feel that most people aren't aware of all these different issues going on. What made me the most upset about this story being told was the factory workers in China. In order to prevent the large amount of suicides, nets were installed to catch people that tried to jump. That's probably the worst solution ever. I didn't understand why instead these people weren't just given better working conditions.